Ananta sansara samudratara naukahitabhyam guru bhaktidabhyam vairagya samrajyad pujanabhyam namo namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Kavitvavarashi Nishakarabhyam Daurbhagyadavam Budamalikabhyam Duri Kritanamra Vipattatibhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Okay. Of course, the reason we start with invocation as per our Vedic tradition, but also it helps us come into bhav. And like we discussed last time, bhav is the direct connection with the Guru, with God, with divine, with the universe. A deep sense of feeling. So that's why we chanted the Guru Paduka Stotra. So I know we are waiting for some more people, but I guess we will get started. So there are 3 types of satsang: Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic. Tamasic satsang is when a person shows up for the satsang for the sake of stature, to be labeled as a spiritual person. That's a tamasic satsang. There is no real reason why they come except to boost their own ego. That's tamasic. And then there is rajasic satsang. Rajasic satsang is when we come for a feel-good feeling. We come to listen to good words, of comforting words that elevate us momentarily, and it's like a feel-good feeling. And then we leave the satsang and we are back to who we were. And then there is Sattvic Satsang. Sattvic Satsang is when we attend the satsang and let the conscious mind imbibe whatever we learn in the satsang, and then we put into practice. Nididhyasana. We actually start practicing so that what we learn, what we imbibed in the conscious mind becomes a part of the subconscious mind. We are all fond of listening or reading quotes, right? We listen to so many we read so many quotes. When we read a quote, it gives us a surge of energy, right? You feel a good feeling within you. We wait for that Black Lotus quote of the day, mindful nudge, so on and so forth. As soon as you read it, it gives you a feel-good feeling. That happens in the conscious mind. That feel-good feeling, if practiced mindfully, consciously, by choice, for a certain period of time, it starts becoming part of the subconscious mind. For example, let's say we read a quote on being solution focused rather than being problem focused, right? If we face a problem at work, we want to be solution focused. It gives When you're going through a rough time at work, you listen to this or you read this quote, it gives you a surge of energy. You're like, you know what? Yes, I need to be solution focused. Then after some time, it fizzles out because the teaching hasn't been imbibed in the subconscious yet. Then comes the question, why should we even take it to the subconscious? Because subconscious mind holds our patterns, all our tendencies, our way of reactions, they all exist in the subconscious mind. How I react in a particular situation, it depends on the patterns of my subconscious mind. So if I want to bring a transformation, it needs to happen in the subconscious mind. Just coming to a satsang or listening to a lecture will not bring that profound change within me. That profound change will happen when I imbibe the teachings of the conscious mind into subconscious mind by practice, by nitya, everyday practice. And that collective store of subconscious mind is state of being. Right now, a person's state of being, like we talked about last time, entire second chapter, we can say, for the sake of understanding, can be divided into three major parts. The first part, where Lord Krishna talks about what is a state of being, what is the highest state of being. Then he talks about how that state of being starts reflecting in the body, in the mind, and in the intellect. And then he explains to Arjun that a person established in that highest state of being, Arjun, acts this way, feels this way, and thinks this way. Then Arjun asks, oh my God, tell me, how does such a person behave? How does such a person act? How does such a person sit? How does such a person talk? And then Lord Krishna realizes that now Arjuna feels like this is an unachievable goal. So let me again break it down for him and explain to him how it can be achieved. That's the last part, or the third part. So we are talking about the first part again, which is achieving that highest state of being. What that highest state of being is unknown to us. It's a journey into the unknown. We see an embodiment of that highest state of being, but we don't know how it is like to be in that state of being, right? So what we need to do is we need to listen to someone who is in that state of being, which is our Swamiji. We listen to him, we listen to his teachings, and then, because that happens at the conscious mind phenomenon, and then we start imbibing it in our daily life through self-reflections. Self-reflection is the key to imbibe it, and you don't have to do it forever. Just 7 days will give you a glimpse into your state of being. Any virtue you want to practice, pick it up. Let's say you want to be non-judgmental, right? For the next 7 days, reflect on only being non-judgmental. So your conscious mind has picked up, okay, I would like to be non-judgmental. Now it needs to be imbibed in the subconscious mind. For that, self-reflection needs to happen at least 3 times a day. You can do one at 10 a.m. You can do one at 3 p.m. You can do one at 8 or 9 p.m. And all you're going to focus is, did I judge someone? What was the reason? And what was the source of that judgment? We are the best books to be read. There is so much we can learn from our own patterns. It requires self-reflection. It requires time and effort. So the reason I started the satsang with tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic satsang is, if we just make it a feel-good factor, it's really a waste of time, because there are hundreds and thousands of lectures on YouTube on Bhagavad Gita. Even if you don't do any of those, Swamiji himself has talked about Sankhya Yoga. You don't need to come and listen to me. I have nothing new to say. But if we make this as a practice, as a sadhana, then we can start transforming our state of being. The current state of being could be muddled up. We could have all kinds of like Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar, all of those. If you want to transform, you need to start focusing on building the opposite. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. These are the only impurities in us, which keep us in the lower states of being. If you want to get into a higher state of being, you need to cultivate the opposite, like contentment, gratitude. If these remain as actions happening at the level of the conscious mind, there will always be situations wherein we will choose something else, because it's happening at a very superficial level. It's happening at a conscious mind level. We practice gratitude at the conscious mind level. Oh, I'm thankful. We wake up and we say, oh, I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. But the real test of gratitude happens in tough times. That's when are you able to say that this also I'm grateful for. That's the real test of gratitude. But that will happen when gratitude has been imbibed in the subconscious mind. When it is part of your state of being, at that point, gratitude is no more an action. Gratitude is a state of being. You're just grateful. No matter what happens, you're just naturally, effortlessly grateful. Initially, it's an effort. If gratitude is something you want to cultivate and make it a part of your state of being, it needs self-reflection. Constant self-reflection for the next few days. Maybe 7 days, maybe 10 days, maybe 21 days. But we want to imbibe everything at a time. It doesn't work that way. We need to work on one attribute, one virtue at a time. Make it a state of being. Because if you think about it, your state of being or your very core, like Swamiji talks about squeezing an orange. When you look at an orange, it looks nice and ripe, beautiful, bright orange. When you cut it and squeeze it, that's the real test, what's going to come out. But if you have imbibed a virtue in your state of being, in your subconscious mind, by practice, by constant practice and self-reflection, then no matter who squeezes you, only sweetness will come out. We focus, and that's what we talked about last time. Arjun was focused too much on his actions. And Lord Krishna says, Arjun, stop judging your actions. This is the state of being you need to be in, the highest state. And he talks about that state as, Sat Chit Anand. That's your true nature, Arjun. You need to establish yourself there. Let's not even go there. Let's not even go to Sat Chit Anand. The virtues that Swamiji talks about, one virtue at a time, make it your own. So that no matter what life situation is being thrown at you, how life squeezes you, naturally, effortlessly, those virtues come out. Because the virtues are no more a conscious mind phenomena. They become a part of you. So that's the first part of second chapter, wherein Lord Krishna talks about the state of being. And Swamiji talks about the highest state of being in one of his discourses. He says the highest state of being is that of love. When you're established in love, when your state of being is love, you're no more loving people, you're just loving. Then, whether it is things, people, ideas, no matter what it is, you just love. You naturally emit love because your state of being is now love. And then he talks about what is love. He says the absence of all the foes, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar, is presence of love. And then we talked about how we are all a little broken within. And because no child is born with anger, no child is born with jealousy, no child is born with dvesh. Where do these things come in us? These are all given to us by the society, by life situations. Knowing thus, can you forgive yourself for your actions, for your hurtful words? It starts with accepting ourselves. It starts with forgiveness. Forgiveness, too, is a state of being. It starts with a conscious mind phenomena, an action. Oh, I forgive. But you don't feel it because it's still a conscious mind phenomena. Oh, I'm very grateful. But you don't feel it. Once you feel true gratefulness, tears will start flowing ceaselessly because that feeling is so deep. And then, no matter what life throws at you, you will feel grateful. No matter what anyone does to you, you will naturally feel forgiveness because you understand that this person who has done all this wrong to me is also broken within. He or she was not born like this. Life has broken this person. And out of that broken state of being, he is acting in such a hurtful manner. That understanding will be part of your subconscious mind. That is your state of being. You understand that it's okay. They didn't know any better, neither did I. At least I have access to Swamiji, at least he found me. They are yet to be found. And then compassion flows effortlessly, naturally. Then we no longer have to practice compassion. Let me be compassionate. Compassion becomes your state of being because you understand. In every person, you see that child, you see that innocent child who was hurt in childhood by parents, by society, unknowingly. The parents didn't know any better. The society doesn't know any better. But that innocent child is still alive, waiting to be accepted, loved. That's the state of being Lord Krishna is talking about. In such a state of being, all these virtues are effortless, natural. Now imagine such a person's antakarna. It will be peaceful, it will be blissful, and it will always be the same. And again, like Swamiji says, most of the times it will be the same. Because that understanding of others is not a conscious mind phenomena anymore. It's part of their being. It's part of their subconscious mind. They understand. That's a sthita prajna, who is not just floating around with ideas in the conscious mind, but one who has practiced relentlessly through self-reflection, contemplation, and has imbibed these qualities. So we need to work on making our state of being love. Osho says this very, very beautiful thing that I'm in love with this quote. He says, love is not a relationship. Love is the way you relate to yourself and to the world. It's not a relationship. It's a way of relating to yourself and to the world. Even when you commit mistakes, so-called mistakes, or when we are guilty of our own hurtful words or actions, why can't we look upon the innocent child that resides within us? Why can't we forgive ourselves for our own actions because we didn't know any better? And that is the state of mind, state of being. Now, from such a state, that was the first part of the second chapter, state of being, the highest state of being. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Arjuna, establish yourself in that state of being, because when you get established in that state of being, all these words, flowery words that you're giving me, will become meaningless. All these ideas and fundas that you're giving me will become meaningless. Right now, you have studied way too many things and you're giving me knowledge from there because you're still in the conscious mind phenomena. Once you establish yourself in that highest state of being, of love, of surrender, here I am, your soul incarnate standing in front of you, asking you to do something, you're questioning me. So he says, establish yourself in that state of being. Now imagine a person's state of being. Let's imagine Swamiji. Why do you have to imagine someone else? State of being established in the highest level. All his actions will stem from that state of being. All his words will stem from that state of being. All his thoughts will stem from that state of being. All his feelings will stem from that state of being. This is the second part of chapter 2. When Lord Krishna says that when you get established in that state of being, your actions, Arjuna, become karma yoga. Your mind is immersed in devotion, and all your mental activity becomes bhakti yoga. Your intellect will no more derive any joy from flowery words of the Vedas, because your intellect is now in jnana yoga. And that's where Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that once you're established in that highest state of being, your actions, your words, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, they all come from that. It's like squeezing the orange. No matter how the skin looks, no matter how anything looks, when you squeeze, only sweetness comes out of it. So Lord Krishna gives very clearly, work on your state of being, your actions will follow suit. Your thoughts, your emotions, everything will get aligned. When a mother cooks delicious food for her children, she is in Karma Yoga. Why? Because she is not cooking to please the kids so that the kids can give compliments to the mother. She does it out of her joy, her inner joy. She cannot contain it. She wants to cook delicious food for the children so the children can enjoy. She doesn't wait for a single thank you. Right there, that's Karma Yoga. A cook can come and cook the same exact food, but that's not Karma Yoga. because the expectation is that of payment. Of course, I'm not talking about the mindset of the cook. I'm just giving an example. So, when we perform actions, first of all, we have to understand why we perform actions. And actions happen at the level of the body. Why we perform actions is to derive joy. That's at the absolute root. Because if that was not the case, we would just be perfectly happy sitting in one place and doing nothing. But we can't. We have to constantly do something. So that doing happens to derive joy. And that's what Lord Krishna is saying, fruits of action. Mother cooks. She is so involved in the cooking, in the absolute joy that the cooking brings to her. She could care less about the thank yous and the gratitudes and any of that. Just deeply involved in joy. So the same work that we were doing before will continue. Nothing will change. But instead of working for joy, we work because we are joyous. Because we cannot contain this joy that's overflowing within us, we work. Imagine a dancer. She's dancing. For us, if we are learning, we are focusing on the steps and whatnot. But the dancer is in deep joy. 1 hour, 2 hours of practice doesn't matter. The dancer cannot contain herself. Out of that inner joy that's bursting, she's dancing. A painter painting, he paints out of his joy, inner joy. That's karma yoga. Actions happen through all of us, but what propels us is the inner joy. And again, going back to the first part, if your state of being is joyous, anything happening out of you is going to be joyous. Whether that is karma yoga, bhakti yoga, or jnana yoga. So in simple terms, I mean, even our Swamiji works 18 to 20 hours a day. After renouncing all material wealth, is wealth his motivation? No, he cannot contain the joy that's overflowing within him. He works for the greater good of the society. Because the state of being is established in a higher state of love for the entire creation. That love doesn't let him sit. That love says, do more, do more. It starts with the state of being. The mind needs to be immersed in bhakti, in deep surrender. And that's bhakti yoga. Again, when the state of being is in surrender, is in gratitude, is in love, the mind will automatically be in love, effortlessly be in love, effortlessly be in surrender, effortlessly be non-judgmental. And that's bhakti. Bhakti is love. If your state of being is immersed in love, what will happen to the mind? Absolutely nothing but love. The intellect. Because these are all our faculties we use in the world, right? We use the mind, we use the body, we use the intellect. We have our emotions. All of these will be colored in the colors of your state of being. That's why Amir Khusro, when he wrote poetry for his guru, Nizamuddin Aulia, he would say, "Mohe apne hi rang mein Rangle Nijam. Color me in your colors. Because our highest state of being is incarnated as Swamiji. That's our highest state of being. And that loving request to your state of being, to God, to Divine Mother, to Swamiji, that color me in your colors. When you love beloved, you love like beloved. Teach me to love like you. Teach me to accept, teach me to embrace like you. So let those colors, let your colors color my state of being so that my actions, my thoughts, my words, my feelings, my emotions, they're all colored in love. And then Arjuna asks, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshavaha sthitadihi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. How does he... Then all of us are feeling like that too. Oh my God, how is such a state of being? How does such a person walk, talk? Easy answer is exactly like Swamiji. We don't even have to imagine. Poor Arjun had to imagine. Although Lord Krishna was in front of him, our Lord Krishna is right here. We don't have to imagine. Exactly like Swamiji. Can we get there? Absolutely, we have to. One step at a time, one virtue at a time. So instead of focusing on what not to do, focus on what to do. He has a list of virtues in his books. One virtue at a time, make it a state of being. Make it understand what prevents you. Read up all the articles on os.me on that virtue. Imbibe it in your state of being. And that's it, and move on. Once it's part of your state of being, why do you need those articles anymore? Or why do you need those discourses anymore? It's a part of your being. So Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, tell me, how does such a person walk? How does such a person behave? And then Lord Krishna again talks about how to get there. He says the very first thing, Arjun, is equanimity. Understand the cycle, the cyclical nature of the world, of samsara. Become aware of that and become tolerant. Forbearance is a quality, it's a virtue. Practice it. Whether there are things that we like to do or we don't like to do them with equanimity. Those were the self-reflections we were doing back in the day. Did I do all my work that was needed of me without any likes and dislikes? So he says, first quality, Arjun, that prepares you to get a glimpse into your true nature is equanimity. Start practicing equanimity. And then Lord Krishna says, then be astutely aware. What are you letting your mind contemplate on? Because whatever you let your mind contemplate on, the mind becomes attached to it. Whatever the mind becomes attached to it, it starts creating desires of having it. Once those desires are created, then you start having expectation that that desire needs to be fulfilled. Once you have expectation, anger is right there waiting for to happen. And once anger happens, you will lose all smriti, all mindfulness, you will lash out, and then you will forget where you were. But I would like to add one more thing here. Be forgiving, even if you do lash out, because understand it's coming from a broken part of you that needs healing, and it's okay. So Lord Krishna talks about these two things. Be equanimous and become aware of what you're letting your mind get attached to. If you become aware of these two things, slowly you will get there, Arjun. And then again, next chapter, he goes on to talk about Karma Yoga. So on that note, I will stop talking, and I wanted to make sure I don't talk too much today, so that's why I timed myself. So we are good. Any questions? I'm going to mute myself.
I had a question. I mean, not a question, but just want to clear that I understood properly. So when you say you work on your state of being, your actions will follow. So which means like, if I just think about love, automatically my actions will be, so nice, so smooth that I don't need to worry about other things. Is that right?
No questions? You can even post it on the chat.
I had a question. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Manali ji, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So when you say that, you work on your state of being and your actions will follow. So going forward, we just need to work, we just need to remind ourselves of our state of being. And
I guess no one has any questions, so we can wrap up the session soon this time. All right. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Oh, Manali, please, can you ask your question again? You were muted. We couldn't hear you. Or maybe I
did.
couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. Anu, can you hear?
Anu, are you able to hear?
Mansi, I can't hear you.
Anu, can you check on your...
Were you all able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me rejoin. Let me rejoin. Manali?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Why am I not able to hear? Yes, Manali, sorry. Please, can you ask your question again?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So you said if we work on our state of being, our actions will follow.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, we just need to focus on the virtues, and then automatically our actions will eventually get in sync with those virtues, and thus there will be less frustration. Is that how it will be?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a very good tip, and that helps, and looks like we just need to be aware and be equanimous, like the titiksha, you mean, so we can just the more we can practice that, we'll get there.
Yes, yes. And I say this from my own practice. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't do it. I did just recently. I asked myself, Anu, what is stopping you from loving unconditionally? Why don't you self reflect and see? So then there were 3 times a day I would just get on my phone and write down. Because whoever I met, what was my barrier? Like Rumi says, our job is not to love. Our job is to find out the barriers that prevent us from loving. So I asked myself, Anu, find out what are your barriers. And I did that for a few days to realize there was only one barrier: judgment. Then I started seeing what makes me judge. These are subtle judgments, okay? Judgments based on people's appearance, because we are given certain norms from the society saying this is normal, this is not normal. And then based on mannerism, which means if I'm kind to you, I went to Starbucks to get a coffee and I was, super courteous and kind. But the woman at the checkout counter, she didn't seem to care. And instantly I saw a little rise of judgment. And then I was like, wait, so her mannerism affected you. If you're being kind, you're expecting the other person to be kind to you. So we have to be astute and we have to reflect. It was just a very beautiful exercise for me. And we did this in the past with Mansi also. We had a group, we would self-reflect. And self-reflection is just so amazing. You can identify so many things and drop. But then my mind knew that, okay, judgment ka opposite hai acceptance. I said, Anu, can you accept people the way they are, with their mannerism, appearance, dressing sense, whatever, their way of talking? Can you accept? So it does help. Once you make these virtues a part of your being, truly, forgiveness, gratitude, it becomes your part of being. You truly feel grateful. You truly feel like forgiving everyone for their mistakes because you understand.
Yes, I think the key is acceptance.
I would like to add something here. The whole of chapter 1 and a bulk of even chapter 2 is just showing our own state of mind and how indecisive, how confused, and how in multiple jumbled state of being we end up being. Forget about your interaction with others in your own house, with your own people, someone with whom you have grown up, someone with whom you have stayed for long, and someone with whom you have decided to be. With all these people, your daily interactions end up in situations just like Arjun. And the real beginning of the teachings of Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita start from I may say, if I may, put it in this way, that it starts from the verse 11 of chapter 2, and it says very clearly, sorrows arise out of misunderstandings, and self-realization is the only way to overcome sorrow. People will be the way they are. And, when I was just doing my own self-reflections, I also undergo so many situations where there are conflicts, there are differences of opinions, but either it becomes my way or highway, or you accept and you move on and you let go. I reread some of Swamiji's blog posts on os.me, and this is one I would share this on the group, the link to this post on how we build opinions about ourselves and about others. The entire state of being in which Arjun is, and he is saying, giving all these lofty ideas of renouncing and going away. I rather leave all this fight and battle and kill my own people, and I rather renounce. These statements are, these lofty statements are not coming from a state of being situated in the highest. It is coming from a state of being confused, a state where he is stressed out and sad. And Swamiji says in this post, I'm reading it out from there, if you are constantly stressed or sad, if you are mostly worried and down, if you are unhappy more than you are joyous, take a hard look at your opinions of others and about the world. And if you examine them with patience, you will find a pattern emerging. This is the cyclical nature of the mind. I have seen people that who are unhappy are mostly so with everyone. And those who are positive and appreciative always find something good in everyone to admire. And how to rise above your opinions? Spend time in introspection, in self contemplation. You will see the world in a new light thereafter. Go on, derive a viewpoint from your first hand experiences and not based on what others tell you or what you read. This will empower you beyond your wildest imagination. This is something that Swami has written in his blog post. I will share the link to this post. So this is what Swami directed me to when I was doing my self-reflections. It's so important. You know, the mind is, its very nature is very fragile. And when you are faced on day-to-day situations, all the knowledge that you gather falls flat if you have lost the mindfulness and awareness of being equanimous, of seeing things as they are without forming judgments, without forming opinions about them. They are what they are. You can't change people around you. But if we do self-reflection, something within us slowly starts changing and accepting also. You know, it's very difficult to accept. And as Anu said, the only key to acceptance is somewhere love. If you start operating from a place of love, it comes easy. You always see the other child in someone who is, you know, right now maybe at loggerheads with you. Maybe there may be some conflict, but that other person is also operating out of a broken being. So this is something that I wanted to add. If someone else also has some questions, may please unmute yourself. Okay. I know there are some questions on the chat.
Okay, let me look. You know what? I can't see them because I rejoined, right? So previous questions are gone. Can you read them to me, please?
Okay. Amarendra Om ji says, which Srimad Bhagavad Gita text is used or recommended? Okay.
I have a bunch of Bhagavad. This one I used is Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. I have the one from Chinmaya Mission also, and I have one more, Gita Press, I think. But Swamiji is there. OS.me is the best Bhagavad Gita.
OS.me is Bhagavad Gita to me. I mean, you pick up anything, even randomly, if you pick something up, it is something that Bhagwan has said. You know, apart from that, of course, I am reading The Perennial Psychology of Bhagavad Gita by Swami Rama. And in the morning today, Charu had a question based on something that Swami has written today in the blog post. She had a question if you could give some pointers onto how we can do better with what his message is. Charu, why don't you unmute yourself and frame your question?
Yeah, thanks, Mansi. Anu, Jai Shri Hari to everyone. Swamiji is, I was very inspired by Swamiji's blog post today that we should do something, all of us should pitch in and do something for the spread of Sanatan Dharma. It's our duty, right? So what can we do? What can we do in our own spaces, wherever we are in life, wherever we are in our lives, in our homes? What can we do? You know, in our own little way, how can we, you know, chip in?
I mean, to me, the You see, Charu, when I think about this, even before this post, right? What can I do? What can I do? I look around myself and I see broken people. I see myself, and I too am broken within. So, the best thing I can do for myself is really to understand myself. Because once I understand myself, I'll understand others. That's the non Vedic, or if you want to call it. So, what can we do? We can really understand, accept, and love ourselves so we can understand, accept, and love others. In Vedic, taking the Sanatan Dharma forward, what can we do? We are, I mean, the way we conduct ourselves, I think that's the biggest that's the biggest benchmark, how we conduct ourselves. Small little things matter. Like, I can only talk from my own life. My son Smara is 10 years old. Now I told myself, okay, now I'm going to do my bit to give him the Vedic way of life. And it starts, if you have children and if you are in touch with children, as Swamiji said, Amar Chitra Katha, they're best. I have the entire 200 books of Amar Chitra Katha. Now I'm going to start reading with him. Initially, I'd be like, hey, Smaran, why don't you read? Now I'm going to read with him. And then, my husband and I, we talked about it last night, saying maybe we should introduce small sadhanas for him. And, things like that. But really, it's the way you conduct yourself in the society with certain amount of pride in your culture. And something I do for myself is I always wear a bindi, even at work, right? People ask me, Doc, what's that dot on your forehead? And I tell them, it's from my culture, and it says that these two physical eyes are to look at the outside world. But this dot represents I'm aware of a third eye to people's hearts that's beyond their appearance. They're always touched. There are little things we can do, pick up without overwhelming ourselves. So that, oh my God, I have to do so much for Sanatan Dharma now. Instead of that, small little things in our own conduct and in our own immediate family, maybe a little bit in the neighborhood, small concentric circles at a time. Starts with us, goes to our family, goes to our neighborhood. And if you have kids in the neighborhood, maybe you can say that, okay, I have Amar Chitra Katha, I've ordered all this. Just come every Sunday for an hour. We'll do storytelling. Which kid doesn't like that? And I think storytelling is the best way to impart virtues into the subconscious mind, because the conscious mind is completely quiet when you're telling a story to a child, because they're totally immersed in your words. And when that happens, it goes in their subconscious. So there is so much you can do.
Anu, I want to share something with everyone.
Go ahead.
Okay, 3 things which happened today, and you have reinforced them. 3 things. In the morning, when I thought that, what can I do for Sanatan Dharma and all that, I said, the first, whatever you said, Swami has reinforced my thoughts through you. Anu, I thought that I'm a teacher. I gather students on a Saturday, fix up a date, and tell stories. I'm a good storyteller. I know that's a skill that I have. So I said, let me gather them. I'll tell them stories. Okay, and now you're talking about storytelling. And I've got goosebumps. And the second thing was that how I can be less judgmental. That was one of the things was in my mind, because yesterday I ended up talking with some friends and I was constantly judging somebody else. And I said, I want to stop this. It's not helping me. So you spoke about judgment. And I thought that I should wear a bindi, a tilak, because I sometimes do and sometimes I don't. And I actually thought about you because in any picture, you are wearing a tilak, a small one, but it's there. And I think I'm going to cry.
No, don't cry, please.
No, I'm not crying. I'm just feeling so overwhelmed that I just thought about the story thing, and it's been there on the back burner since last 2 years, that I want to tell stories. I want to tell stories. So the Amar Chitra Katha I will add to, and thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you. Thank you a million times.
Any other questions?
Namaste. Can I talk?
Of course, Sharon.
Yeah. Just now, whatever Charuji has asked and whatever you have replied, first of all, I'm very thankful to her for bringing up this question and beautiful explanation given by you. And I didn't go through the Swamiji's post fully, but a friend of mine also shared a part of it. Anyhow, I'll go through it fully. But I just want to, this has been on mind from quite a very long time. How people are going away from dharma, and they are also not only doing so, they are just teasing and bullying the others who are following dharma. I have also faced this. If I put a tilak, some people will say, what you are doing, you have so many restrictions in your life. They do all sort of things. Okay, so either we have to educate them or convince them. We don't want to please them, but we want to educate them. But this question, always it is on my mind, and I have faced many situations. But what I came up till now is, there are at least few people who like to stick to dharma. We have to give education to them. Today, adhyatmika daridrata is there. Means people may be rich, they have money, but they have lost the dharma, knowledge of dharma. So, and we know dharma rakshati rakshitaha. Whoever protects dharma, dharma will take care of them. Dharma will protect them. So, first, where we can start is by imparting the knowledge of dharma itself. So that is also, I feel, it is one of the seva which we can do to dharma. First, get the knowledge of dharma and share it with others. And we can motivate and inspire others to take up dharma. But if we are not able to find so much time to impart knowledge of dharma to others, we should get them into programs or courses where dharma is being taught. And today, one more thing very much required is we should stick to our self dharma also. Like paramparagata dharma is there in every house. So they should also follow that paramparagata dharma, whatever the dharma of their house is. Like every house has a deity and parampara is there. That also they should stick to. They should not go away from their roots. This I felt is also very important. And general knowledge of dharma, like there are various paths. Somewhere if any educational programs are there, if any institute is teaching, from there also we should be able to get the knowledge of dharma. Recently, I came across one Rishi Peetam from Hyderabad who are teaching the basics of dharma, and they are focusing on kids. And I was very happy when I came across this program, and I shared about this information with many people. They are conducting weekly one class, and they are teaching the stories and what are the major deities which we pray, like Ganesha, Shanmuga, Shiva, Durga and all, and small stories related to them. And they are also covering stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana also. So this is what I came across recently, and I felt people should get into this kind of programs more and more, and especially children at a young age, they should be getting this information so that later they'll be able to apply in their life. Earlier, I feel ki grandparents and all, when big families used to be there, they used to impart this knowledge. Now we see only nuclear families, and the parents themselves are not having so much education about dharma. How can they teach their children? So they have to depend on some other institutes and other gurus. So this is my 2 cents. I'm sorry if I said something wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hi, my name is Hitarth. Can I share something as well?
Of course.
Thank you so much. This is the first time I'm joining this call, so really appreciate everyone who set this up and given us the opportunity to get together. I haven't read Swamiji's post since morning, but I've been also wondering about this topic of Sanatan Dharma and what we can do for it for quite some time, even before I was connected to Swamiji. And just like to share two things. One, I think somebody mentioned about tilak, and in my office, every day I put the tilak when I go in, whether it's through, if I'm not if I'm working from home and there are Zoom calls, or if I'm in the office and people have asked me, do I visit the temple every morning? And I had to tell them that no, I just put the tilak on at my home, which was really surprising to most people, but I think they've come over it. So it's like I've realized that if I'm comfortable with who I am, then folks around me will be comfortable with that as well. That's one. And my second thought was, an idea I had was that maybe all of us can visit our local temples on a periodic cadence, maybe once a week or whatever works for us, and support those. Because what I've seen is, from when when I was growing up to where I am now, the number of people coming into temples has really reduced, which also means that the income temples have and the priests have is reduced as well. So if we can commit to going in at least at a periodic cadence and supporting our local temples, I think that might be helpful as well. Thanks again.
I think it's something that we should all be very proud of, belonging to a culture which has a very rich heritage, and it has roots which can lead you. I am always reminded of this thing that Swamiji keeps talking about very often, that it's a urdu moolam. The roots are upwards. If you are connected with the tree, the leaf is not going to die and decay. If you're connected with your system, with your ancient ways of being and living, it will always be something that you can pass on to the next generation, and it stays on as the greatest legacy that you have passed on. And children, as Swamiji says, they don't listen or do things because you tell them to do. They do things by seeing you, by observing you. So if you are able to carry on the legacy, if you are able to set them an example, and if you're very proud of who you are and what you carry as your legacy and as your heritage, I think that's what we can all do at our own level. Instead of, even, of course, we can all do very, very many big things, but that's a different thing and a different level. But what we can do on very simple things on a daily basis is something we should all, start doing. Like Swamiji said today, except for the Yada Yada shlok, which owes its fame to B.R. Chopra, I don't think most of the Indian folks today would even know one shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Forget about what their children will know. And what you don't know, you don't value. And what you don't value, it makes no difference whether it exists or it disappears. And something that we are blessed with is, as much as it's our responsibility to be proud of, practice it, and then spread it. Spread it to our own family first, our own children first. Big things will anyways happen, but the small steps we can all take. That's what I have my 2 cents to give on this. If anyone has any more questions, we can take them up, or otherwise we can wrap it up.
Hi, Mansi. I didn't actually attend the satsang, but I just wanted to add that I also think the same. The best way to do anything about anything is through the conduct. If we conduct ourselves in such a way that it inspires people, that's the only way we'll be able to convince anyone to take anything up. Children are very quick to follow what we do. So even if you're wearing, like, I don't know, a mala or a bracelet, they'll be very quick to ask you, what are you wearing and what is this? And that is then your chance to explain to them what it is. Or if you're praying and you're having fun, as what Swami says, I think So basically what I'm saying is it's through our conduct mostly, instead of trying to convince people, which might just push them away more, just conducting ourselves in a way that will inspire others by doing the Vedic practices and stuff, then that's what I think we should do. And great points by everyone. And that's it. I don't have any questions. And thank you.